Today, we're diving into the story of Tom and Jackie Hawks. They had it all, a dream retirement on the open ocean, only to have it all stolen from them in the most horrifying way you can imagine. We're going to start right here with these haunting words from Jackie Hawks. This one sentence really cuts to the core of this whole story. A story about twisted manipulation and a betrayal that started with the promise of a new chapter and ended in the dark, cold waters of the Pacific.
So, who exactly were Tom and Jackie Hawks? And how did they just vanish? To really get the gravity of the crime, you first have to understand the beautiful dream they built for themselves.
Tom and Jackie were just madly in love. They built this wonderful life, raised their sons, and saved up every dime they could. Their dream? To retire on their own yacht, which they perfectly named the Well-Deserved. And for 2 years, they lived that dream. But then, in 2004, they found out they were going to be grandparents. So they decided to sell the boat to be closer to their family. It was supposed to be the start of another happy chapter. They found a buyer pretty quickly and told their sons the deal was almost done. And then, just nothing. The calls stopped. Now, Tom and Jackie were in constant touch with their family, so for them to go completely silent, that was not just strange, it was alarming. The alarm bells started ringing loud and clear.
So Tom's brother, Jim, who happens to be a retired police chief, went to check things out, and this is what he found. You have to understand, Tom was meticulous. His yacht was always in perfect shape. But when Jim got there, the Well-Deserved was a total mess. Lines were hanging off the side, tarps were off, dirty towels hanging from a window. For a guy like Tom, this scene was the first real sign that something was very, very wrong.
The investigation pretty quickly zeroed in on this supposed new owner of the yacht, a young man who made himself out to be this successful family guy, but, well, his whole story was just a carefully constructed lie.
And this right here just lays out the whole web of deception. This guy, Skylar DeLeon, told the police he was a former child actor from Power Rangers and he'd saved up all this money. The reality? He was a non-speaking extra with a conviction for armed robbery. He claimed the Hawks just drove off with a suitcase full of cash, but as investigators were about to find out, that was just lie number one.
Then, in this really bizarre attempt to look cooperative, Skylar spins another tale. He confesses to police that, okay, he wasn't a child star, but he was actually using stolen drug money to buy the boat. He was trying to launder it. He basically admitted to one major crime, hoping it would distract them from the much, much worse one he actually committed.
But Skylar's attempt to control the whole story, it just didn't work. The police weren't buying it, and his lies started falling apart piece by piece.
And man, the dominoes fell fast. First, the Hawks SUV shows up down in Mexico. Turns out, Skylar gave it to a friend. Then, a search of his home turns up the Hawks' personal stuff, laptops, video cameras, things they would never, ever leave behind. And the final nail in the coffin? The notary. She admitted she'd never even met the Hawks and that Skylar had paid her to backdate all the paperwork. The sale was a complete fraud.
And this was the terrifying question that hung over the entire investigation. The paperwork was fake, the money story was a lie, and Tom and Jackie were gone. The case was shifting from a missing persons case to something far more sinister.
The truth, when it finally came out, came from an accomplice. He was cornered by police, offered a deal, and the story he told was just one of calculated, cold-blooded betrayal.
So this is Alonzo McChain. He was a former jailer who had actually met Skylar in prison. He was lured in with the promise of $1 million score, told he was just helping assassinate some bad people. When he was faced with all the evidence, he decided his only way out was to tell the police absolutely everything.
McChain laid out the entire horrific plan. See, Tom Hawks was a little wary of Skylar at first. But then Skylar's wife, Jennifer, showed up with their baby. Jackie, who was so excited to be a grandmother herself, just melted. Her warmth put Tom at ease too. It was a trap. Once they were out on the ocean, Tom was ambushed below deck. Jackie was handcuffed, they were tied up together, blindfolded, and then forced to sign away their boat, their savings, their entire lives.
In those terrifying final moments, tied up and helpless, Alonzo McChain remembered hearing Tom trying to comfort his wife. He heard him reach for her hand and whisper these words, a final testament to their love, even in the face of this unimaginable horror.
After they forced them to sign all the documents, Skylar and his crew tied Tom and Jackie to the boat's anchor. And then they were thrown over the side of their own beloved yacht into the ocean.
They were still alive, pulled down thousands of feet to the bottom of the sea.
Alonzo McChain's confession gave prosecutors everything they needed. It was time to bring the people who did this to justice for this absolutely monstrous crime.
And here's how it all played out. The mastermind, Skylar DeLeon, and his accomplice, John Kennedy, both got the death penalty. Jennifer DeLeon, the one who used her own child as bait, she got life in prison with no chance of parole. And for his testimony, Alonzo McChain's sentence was reduced to 20 years.
But maybe the most gut-wrenching detail of all came from the Hawks' own video camera. When the police recovered it, they found footage of Tom and Jackie, happy, talking about their future, about their grandchild. But then the video just cuts, and it's Skylar and Jennifer celebrating Thanksgiving just days after the murders. They had recorded right over the final memories of the people they killed. It's just a final, horrifying glimpse into their complete and utter lack of humanity.